Well, hi. Today we're going to talk about the continuation of the idea of the gospel. What is the gospel message anyway? And so yesterday we talked a little bit about the idea that the gospel is made up of four distinct parts: the story of creation, the fall, redemption, and restoration. I want to talk to you a little bit today about creation. And God created the world. Let's just turn for a second to the creation story in Genesis. And after God created, as you know, He created the sun, the moon, the stars, the animals, the birds, the fish. And then finally God gets to the sixth day of creation and He creates mankind. And this is what He says. It says in Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. So God created man in His own image. In the image of God, He created him. Male and female, He created them. So it's very interesting that God made us, but He made us in His own image. We talked a little bit about this last week in the fact that our identity is the identity of God in us, that we are the Imago Dei. Our very identity is connected to who God is and what God's identity is. God's intention was that He would create us to be the very representation of Himself. Well, the other thing that God created us for was, it says that a lot of times people think that the very first commandment that Jesus gave really was, go into all the world and make disciples of all nations and teach them to obey all that I have commanded. We often call that the Great Commission. But even before the Great Commission, God gave man a further commandment. After He created them in His own image, He said this in verse 28. And God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth." So God had an intention for us. He actually had work for us to do. Long before there was the fall, and long before there was sin that stained the world, God gave us purpose. And that was what was always intended, that we would be here on this beautiful created earth, and that we would have very, very productive work that would be incredibly satisfying. But other things stepped in, and we ended up with a problem. But for today, I want you to think about that God is the creator. And if He is the creator, then He actually had an intention for how He meant for us to be, that we would have work to do and we would feel fulfilled in it, but also that we would have relationship with each other as people that would be untainted by anger and hatred and prejudice and division, and that we would also have this intimate relationship with Himself, with God Himself. That was God's intention. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the fall and what happened to God's intention.